sector is clear.
Give us everything we got! All wings!
Hey guys, TGInstance3 here, and today I'm going to be showing you what I believe is the best setup for Anakin. So, Anakin's I would say he's a good character for if you're just starting out on the game, because he's one of the best and easiest to use. So that's why I believe he's really good for the new players. And star cards, I'm going to go through them with you now. So, Tenacious, Anakin Skywalker has increased health. This can be good if you're new to the game, but if you're like an old player and you're watching this, then you probably don't use this card, because you really don't need it once you know how to use Anakin. Massive Strikes. This is where Anakin does 20 more damage on his standard attacks. I would say this is a good card as well. This is also very good for old and new players. Yeah, next one. So, Passionate Strike does 40 more damage. This is, well, for this card, I would say it's good, but I would only use this in HVV, because in Galactic Assault or Capital Supremacy you're not going to get as many people with lightsabers, so that they won't be blocking. So I would only use this card if you're playing HVV. Control the Force. The base radius of Heroic Might is larger. So basically what this means is he has increased range on Heroic Might, and if you put this with another card I'll show you in a minute, it's really good, because you can take out like massive rooms of like full of enemies. And like back when Anakin first came out, you could wipe out the whole enemy team using this. It's ridiculous. And then Steamroll. Every enemy trooper defeated, or 200 damage to villains, decreases all of Anakin Skywalker's stamina costs by 2% to a maximum. This effect resets when Anakin is defeated. So personally, I don't use this card because Anakin's stamina regenerates pretty fast, if you ask me. So I don't see the point why you would need to have it like 40% quicker. At least I think that's what the card says it is doing when you're using it. But I'm not quite sure, but personally I just wouldn't use that if that is the case. Cooldown of Passionate Strike is reduced. So I wouldn't use this one at all, because the cooldown, it's pretty fast anyway, and in Galactic Assault or Capital Supremacy it's going to be a useless ability, well, star card to use, because it doesn't really do anything, because there's not as many heroes. So Attraction. Pull Dominance has a greater range, so this just increases the range of his force pull, and I'd say you could use this if you really want to, but personally I don't use it, because I don't think it's worth it. I just, like, the same with Luke for example, his force push can have extended range, but I don't use that because I'm always close, like up close to enemies, so that's why I don't use that. And then raw strength, heroic might deals more base damage. I would say this is a must-have card for Anakin if you're new or old to the game. This is because this insta kills every type of class except the heavy, and you can rack up loads of kills with it, so it's a really useful ability. And if you combine raw strength with control of the force, you have increased range and you're insta killing, so I'd say it's pretty overpowered, and I would really recommend that you use that. The only time I wouldn't use control of the force is if you're playing HVV, but I use it anyway in HVV because I can't be bothered to keep changing my cards every time I play. And then all of them, Pool Dominance does 50 more damage if a minimum number of targets are affected, so you need to have at least 2 people inside the area. This is also a good card, but personally, again, I don't use it, so that's really up to you if you want to use it, because if you like the Forceful more than Heroic Might, then go ahead and use that with Attraction. So now on to his best HVV cards. I would say you should use Massive Strikes, Pressure, and Raw Strength in HVV, because he does more damage to the villains, so he kills them quicker. Pressure, he does more damage when enemies are blocking with their lightsabers, so that's also really good. And then Raw Strength also does more damage, so you'll be doing more damage to the villains as well. And then for Heroes vs Villains, no, not Heroes vs Villains, Galactic Assault, I recommend you use Massive Strikes, Control the Force, and Raw Strength. This is my favourite loadout to use for Anakin because he does more damage, and this card insta-kills every single enemy except the heavy in one hit with his standard attack, so that's why I'd recommend that. Control of the Force, he has increased range, so he can get more like standard infantry in the area, and does more base damage for raw strength, and then that insta kills, so that's another good one I would recommend using. And these two combined is really overpowered because you can wipe out tons of enemies, and it's just really helpful if you ask me. Onto his abilities. Pull Dominance, Anakin pulls enemies in front of him to a center point, leaving them open for attacks. So this is just like a force pull. He just pulls the enemies towards you, and yeah, that's pretty much what he does. Heroic Might, Anakin takes highly reduced damage while holding the ability, and released he pushes all enemies around him in range, being increased by the amount of damage taken while held. So if he kills them when he's using Heroic Might, he gets his health back, and he takes damage reduction as well when you're using the ability. So that's pretty good. And then I would also say Heroic Might is his most useful ability. And then Passionate Strike, Anakin unleashes a heavy strike, breaking his opponent's guard and dealing high damage. So it is a good ability, but I'd say Only use that ability if you're playing heroes versus villains. Because in Galactic Assault, like I said, you don't get as many villains or heroes. And then Retribution, Anakin's powers intensify whenever he and nearby allies are attacked, building towards the ultimate punishment of a swift and inescapable can't speak grip, seizing all enemies around him. So Retribution, it's similar to Heroic Might, but it's like the enemies stuck in place, if that makes any sense. So they're just stuck in place instead of being able to free run around whilst Heroic Might's active. And then I'll show you his skins as well. And then he has his emotes, and then the voice lines, and then the victory poses. And then now I'm going to go into arcade, and I'm going to show you some examples. Show you how good these cards can be. Let's get Anakin.
I'm guessing this isn't one of those situations where we far outnumber the enemy.
So you see, I have these groups of enemies here, and as you can see, if I do this, it one hits every class except heavies. And every time this recharges, you can just repeat them. So like, look at this. And then his pull.
Gotta love that pull.
That pull.
Look at the stream falling over.
This is where the